Hey everybody, this is Jacob with Fitness Sports. On today's episode of Fitness Tested, I'll be reviewing the brand new Nike Pegasus 41. Let's just say the Pegasus is back, baby. For those of you who don't know of the Nike Pegasus, this is the workhorse neutral training shoe for Nike. So essentially what that means is you should be able to lace this shoe up for any given run and trust that it will perform well. So it should be very good for any run, whether that's an easy run, a long run, a tempo run, intervals. This shoe does it all. So with that, the shoe has to be very well balanced, and most of the Nike Pegs, they're typically just high enough cushion-wise to where you're not going to be feeling the ground when you're running, but then also not too high cushioned to where it's going to feel heavy and kind of clunky. And also in terms of the responsiveness, they'll have just a little bit of that flare to, where you feel a little dangerous on those faster runs, but then not too much so to where you can't, take them out for an easier day. So it's just a very well-balanced training shoe. So went for a 5-mile easy run at about 8-minute pace, and I wasn't sure what to expect with them. And yeah, just getting out for the first couple miles, I was like, dang, these shoes they're really nice. Like my stride felt very natural. They felt lightweight and springy, like a Pegasus should. So I was like pretty excited, after the 5-mile run, I was like, I didn't want to have my hopes too high. And the next day I had a 18-mile long run on deck for marathon training. I was like, should I run in a new shoe? I don't know, like I don't want to get hurt. I was like, I'll give them a shot. So I ended up doing an 18-mile run at about marathon pace effort. And these shoes, they performed great. It was way better than I thought they'd be. They felt durable, they felt cushioned enough for that long run, and still that lightweight, springy feel of a Pegasus. So they held up super well at that 18-mile distance, really better than I thought they would. So yeah, through 2 runs, I'm like, these are a Pegasus, these are legit. And the final test for them is you had to get them on a track. So went out for a track workout this morning. We did some tempo effort at around 6-minute pace, and also did some 400 meter intervals at about 80 seconds per lap or so, between 80 to 90 seconds per lap. And they were super responsive, just like that lightweight, springy feel of Pegasus. So I'm pretty excited with the shoes. Really, it's much different than the previous models, and this has put the Pegasus like in a new light for me. Just, the past 5 years have been disappointing, but the Pegasus, they are indeed back. So now I'm gonna dive in a little bit to the specs of the shoe. Overall, for the weight, they're about 10.4 ounces for a men's 10 US. And I think for a women's 8 US are about 8.5 ounces or so. So honestly, a little bit on the heavier side for a Pegasus, but they did not feel heavy at all for me. In terms of the heel toe drop, they kept their same heel toe drop at 10 millimeters. They did 34 millimeters at the heel, and they did 24 at the forefoot. Just keeping that stack height similar, but yeah, only 1 millimeter added overall to the heel and the forefoot, which I'm happy about because, it seems like every shoe nowadays, they're adding like 3-4 millimeters every year, and the shoes are just getting way too huge, way too heavy. So I'm happy they didn't change too much about that in terms of the stack height of the Pegasus. So yeah, I'll dive in a little bit to the feeling of the upper. Overall, it's a very, this is their engineered mesh upper, and they made some really good updates to it. I thought it was very comfortable, locked down to the foot, but not too tight. My foot is about just your standard width. It's not too narrow, not too wide, and the shoes fit my foot perfectly. If your foot's a little bit on the wider side, I'd recommend getting the wide width model, which they always do make one in the Nike Pegasus. And then overall, the tongue was just very plush and soft around my foot, no rubbing, and it just felt very comfortable there, which is very important for a training shoe. You want to be nice and comfortable on your foot. And also good cushioning around the heel and good heel lockdown. My heel didn't slip at all while I was running in the shoes. So yeah, overall a great feel for the upper, and it's very breathable. And honestly, it's a clean looking shoe. This is probably one of the better designs they've come out with too in the past few years for Nike Pegs. It even comes down to some of the little nitty gritty details. You get a little quick zoom in on these. They have the wings there, right there on the inside by the lacing, which I don't know, I think that was a cool little touch for the upper. So let's dive in. The next thing we'll dive into would be the outsole, which this has been a piece of Nike shoes that's always been very reliable. Their outsole with the waffle inspired outsole has always been very grippy and very durable, holds up really well. I had no traction issues whatsoever. Even for the 18-mile run, happened to run through part of the Cedar River since it flooded onto the trail over there and didn't slip at all, running through a little muddy section of the river. So the outsole, just that same waffle inspired outsole, and it performs well. I have no complaints with the outsole at all. For the midsole, in the previous iteration, the Pegasus 40s, they had just the traditional React midsole. And in the newest Pegasus 41s, they have the React X, which is their new foam. Nike claims that it's 13% more responsive than the React foam. And yeah, I think it just might be. I mean, they felt really snappy on the runs and felt a lot more responsive than the previous models they've been releasing. So yeah, I was very happy with the responsiveness with the new foam. And of course they have the air zoom units at the forefoot and the heel there, which they always have in the Pegasus. And the air zoom units, they're a huge weapon for Nike because, unlike the foam, which the foam, it like runs out of its snappiness. It's not always gonna be quite as responsive, but with the air zoom units, it's always gonna keep that little bit of responsiveness, and it's gonna maintain that as long as those airbags in there don't pop at all. So that's a big weapon for Nike training shoes, and they even use it in their super trainers and super shoes as well. So yeah, I was very happy with the midsole. It is, with the React foam, it is like a little more heavy than the previous model at about 0.3 ounces more. So I would say that's like the big con with this new foam, is just, it's a little bit heavier, but I didn't really feel the increase of the weight. They didn't feel too heavy for me. I would say that's probably the one main thing they would need to work on with the Pegasus, is like getting the weight back down, because it's not quite as light as it should be, just for the traditional Pegasus and more that lightweight daily trainer. Overall, like I'm very happy with this shoe, and I think this puts Nike back on track for daily trainers. It's an exciting release. And these are, for price, these are at $140. The previous model was $130, so they did go up by $10, but I think the $10 extra is well worth it for these trainers, and it makes them very competitive with other models like New Balance 880, Brooks Ghost, Saucony Ride. I think these are even above those models. They're not quite going to hang with shoes like the Asics Nova Blast, because those have a lot more cushion and stack height while also being still more responsive than Nike Pegasus. So I'm hoping they can continue to advance the foam to where they can hang with those guys like the Asics Nova Blast. Overall, very excited about the shoe, and I think you would not regret purchasing it if you like that lightweight daily trainer. You can check out our site at shop.fitnesssports.com at the release date June 5th if you want to grab a pair.